The silent preparation, the galactic assembly hall stretched wider than any human stadium, its crystalline walls reflecting the light of 1,000 different star systems. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the podium designated for lesser species, her hands steady despite the laughter rippling through the gathered representatives. The Valorian delegate had just finished his speech, his tentacles writhing with amusement as he described humanity's pitiful fleet of outdated vessels held together by what he called primitive adhesives and wishful thinking. Chen waited for the laughter to die down before speaking into the translator. Her voice carried the weight of centuries of human diplomacy, though she was only 43 years old. The assembly expected her to defend Earth's honor, to argue against their assessment. Instead, she simply smiled and bowed her head slightly. The humans accepted the Council's evaluation with gratitude for their honesty. Her words caused more laughter, but she noticed how the Chromat ambassador's scales shifted uneasily. That one had always been more perceptive than the others. What the assembly didn't know was that Earth had been playing this game for 70 years. Every outdated ship they paraded through inspection zones, every clumsy diplomatic fumble, every request for technological assistance, all of it had been carefully orchestrated theater. Humanity had learned the most valuable lesson from its own history. Never let your enemies know your true strength until the moment you strike. Deep in the Perseus arm, far from any registered trade route or colonial pathway, Captain Miguel Rivera guided his stealth cruiser through an asteroid field that didn't appear on any galactic map. The rocks here weren't natural. They were hollowed out, converted into shipyards and weapons platforms over the course of 5 decades. His vessel, the Persistence, was one of 300 assigned to protect humanity's greatest secret. Behind the asteroid curtain lay the true human fleet. Ships that had never seen alien sensors, weapons that violated every treaty humanity had signed with a smile. Rivera remembered his grandfather's stories about the first contact, 30 years ago. The aliens had arrived, expecting primitives who had barely achieved nuclear fusion. They found a species that had already fought 3 world wars and survived. The visitors offered technology in exchange for resources and loyalty, never realizing that humans had reverse-engineered their gifts within months of receiving them. Every piece of alien technology had been studied, improved upon, and mass-produced in facilities that officially didn't exist. The provocation came on a Tuesday. Earth Standard Time, Kepler Station, humanity's largest public trading post, received an ultimatum from the Hexery Empire. Surrender control of 3 mining systems or face immediate annexation. The Hexery had done this before to other young species, absorbing them into their empire as vassal states. The galactic community watched with mild interest, expecting humanity to either capitulate or be crushed within days. Ambassador Chen received the message during a formal dinner and responded with characteristic human foolishness by asking for 3 days to consider the generous offer. Those 3 days would change everything. While the galaxy watched Earth's visible forces retreat from the disputed systems, appearing to abandon their colonies in fear, something else was happening in the darkness between stars. Orders went out on quantum-encrypted channels that the aliens didn't know humans possessed. Sleeping cells activated on 100 worlds. Ships that had been dormant for years powered up their cores. Engineers who had been working as farmers and teachers suddenly reported to hidden bases. Humanity's true military, 10 times the size of what the galaxy believed existed, began to move. The protocol was called Phoenix, named after the mythical bird that rose from its own ashes. Every human above the age of 18 knew about it, though none spoke of it aloud. It was the reason Earth's population seemed so content despite their apparent weakness. They knew what slept in the dark. They knew that humanity had spent 50 years pretending to be prey while becoming the ultimate predator. The plan required patience that spanned generations, but humans had always been good at holding grudges. As the HFY fleet approached Kepler Station, confident in their superiority, they detected no unusual activity. The station's defenders had fled, leaving behind only civilian vessels and cargo haulers. The HFY commander, a veteran of countless conquests, found it almost disappointing how easily humans surrendered. His sensors showed no threats, no resistance, just empty space and abandoned facilities. That was when the first ship materialized behind his fleet. It wasn't cloaked in any way the HFY understood. The vessel had been there all along, hidden, in a fold of space-time that human scientists had discovered by accident while trying to solve their own unified field theory. One ship became 10, then 100, then 1,000. They surrounded the HFY fleet like antibodies surrounding a virus, each one armed with weapons that shouldn't have been possible for a species that had only achieved faster-than-light travel. 60 years ago, Captain Rivera watched from his command chair as the HFY fleet scrambled to respond. Their confusion was beautiful in its totality. The alien commander was screaming into his communications array, demanding to know where these ships had come from. Rivera opened a channel, speaking in perfect HFY, a language humans weren't supposed to have fully decoded. The captain's message was simple, but carried the weight of humanity's true nature. You came to our station expecting sheep, but you found wolves instead. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. Humanity didn't destroy the HFY fleet. That would have been too simple, too merciful. Instead, they disabled every ship, left them floating helplessly in space while their emergency beacons screamed into the void. The message was clear, not just to the HFY, but to every species monitoring the situation. Humanity could have killed them all but chose restraint. It was a warning wrapped in mercy, the most terrifying kind of power display. Back on Earth, the hidden command centers that had been built beneath major cities came alive with activity. Admiral Rebecca Thompson, who publicly served as an agricultural administrator, took her position at strategic command. The decades of preparation were over. The charade had served its purpose. The galaxy had forced humanity's hand, and now they would see what humans were truly capable of. She looked at the global tactical display showing the real human fleet. Ships emerging from hidden bases on moons, asteroids, and in the space between stars. The Phoenix Protocol had 3 phases. Phase 1 was complete with the revelation at Kepler Station. Phase 2 would involve demonstrating humanity's reach by simultaneously appearing in force at strategic locations across the galaxy. Phase 3, well, that would depend on how the other species responded. Thompson hoped they would be smart enough to reconsider their assessment of humanity. But if history had taught humans anything, it was that power was rarely surrendered without a fight. As news of the Kepler Station incident spread through quantum communications networks, panic began to grip the Galactic Assembly. The lesser species they had mocked was suddenly revealed to possess a military force that rivaled the established powers. Questions flew like projectiles in the assembly hall. How long had humans been hiding this strength? How many ships did they really have? What other secrets were they keeping? Ambassador Chen stood in the same spot where she had been mocked just days before. This time, no one was laughing. She waited for complete silence before speaking, her voice carrying a different tone now, one that made even the warrior species pay attention. She told them that humanity had tried to join the galactic community as equals, but they had been treated as inferiors. Their worlds marked for exploitation, their people seen as resources. The humans had shown restraint for 70 years, building relationships, learning about their neighbors, hoping for peaceful coexistence. But patience, Chen explained, was not the same as weakness. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near-extinction events. They had evolved on a death world where everything from the weather to the wildlife tried to kill them. They had learned to be adaptable, cunning, and above all, patient. The galaxy had mistaken their diplomacy for submission, their kindness for weakness. That miscalculation would not be repeated. Asterisk. The 70 years of perceived human weakness had been a test, Chen revealed. Humanity wanted to know which species would treat them fairly despite apparent power imbalances. They had found a few true allies, species who had shown genuine friendship without condescension. Those species would find humanity to be the most loyal allies they could imagine. The others, those who had shown their true nature by attempting to exploit apparent weakness, would discover that humans had very long memories. Asterisk, the awakening. Storm the Battle of Three Suns would be remembered as the moment the galaxy truly understood humanity's capabilities. 3 separate alien fleets had assembled near the triple star system of Proxima Gemini, intending to form a coalition against the sudden human threat. The Valorian Empire brought their dreadnoughts, massive ships that had never known defeat. The Hexary survivors had called in their reserve fleets, seeking revenge for their humiliation. The Tarkanian Confederacy, opportunists who sensed weakness in the chaos, brought their swift raiders. Admiral Thompson watched their formation from the bridge of humanity's flagship, the Resilience. It was a ship that shouldn't exist according to galactic physics. Powered by controlled micro-black holes and armed with weapons that manipulated fundamental forces. Around her, the true human armada spread out like a metallic constellation, each ship a testament to human innovation and determination. They had names that carried human history and defiance. Stalingrad, Thermopylae, Alamo, ships named after last stands where humans had refused to surrender. The alien coalition sent their ultimatum with typical arrogance. Humanity would surrender their hidden fleets, submit to galactic oversight, and accept status as a protectorate under joint alien control. Thompson read the demands to her bridge crew, who responded with grim laughter. These aliens still didn't understand what they were dealing with. Humans didn't just prepare for war, they had revolutionized it. Every human ship was linked through quantum entanglement, allowing instantaneous coordination across any distance. Their shields weren't energy barriers but localized space-time distortions. Their weapons didn't just destroy, they selectively deleted matter from existence. Thompson's response to the ultimatum was broadcast on all frequencies, ensuring every ship, station, and world in range would hear it. She spoke not as a military commander, but as a teacher delivering a history lesson. She told them about Carthage and Rome, about the Mongols and the Chinese, about every time in human history when a seemingly superior force had underestimated human resolve. She explained that humans had a saying, "Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it." The battle began with the aliens firing first, as Thompson knew they would. Thousands of energy beams and projectiles streaked through space toward the human fleet. They hit nothing. The human ships were there and not there simultaneously. existing in a quantum superposition that humanity had learned to maintain at a macro scale. The aliens were essentially firing at ghosts, while the real ships existed a fraction of a dimension away. Untouchable, but still able to strike back. When humanity returned fire, it wasn't with conventional weapons. They deployed gravity wells that crushed dreadnoughts like tin cans. They used focused electromagnetic pulses that rewrote the software of enemy ships, turning their own systems against them. Most terrifyingly, they deployed the erasers, weapons that removed sections of enemy ships from existence so cleanly that the remaining parts didn't even realize anything was missing until systems started failing. The Valorian dreadnoughts, pride of their empire, lasted 8 minutes. The Hexery Reserve Fleet managed 11 minutes before their commanders ordered a retreat that turned into a rout. The Tarkanian raiders, built for speed and agility, discovered that human predictive algorithms had calculated every possible escape vector and placed quantum mines in their path. The battle wasn't a fight. It was a demonstration, a carefully choreographed display of superiority that left no doubt about the new reality. But humanity's true stroke of genius came after the battle. Instead of destroying the defeated fleets, they repaired them. Human engineers, using nanotechnology that the galaxy didn't know existed, rebuilt the alien ships in hours. They returned them to their owners, fully functional, often better than before, with a simple message: "We could have destroyed you, we chose to help you instead." This is the difference between humanity and what you expected. The psychological impact was devastating. The Galactic Assembly had prepared for conquerors, for vengeful humans seeking to dominate. Instead, they faced something far more unsettling. A species that could crush them but chose mercy, that could have ruled through fear but offered friendship instead. It was a power move that no amount of military might could have achieved, proving that humans understood not just warfare but the deeper currents of galactic politics. In the assembly hall, Ambassador Chen stood before the gathered representatives one final time. Behind her, holographic displays showed the true extent of humanity's hidden empire. Colonies on worlds the galaxy thought were uninhabitable, research stations in the void between galaxies, generation ships that had been traveling for decades to seed distant corners of the universe. Humanity hadn't just been building a fleet. They had been building a civilization that spanned dimensions the aliens hadn't even discovered. Chen explained that humanity's deception hadn't been born from malice, but from necessity. They had studied galactic history, seen how emerging species were either absorbed or destroyed, never truly allowed to maintain their identity. Humans had chosen a third option: to appear weak while growing strong, to learn while teaching, to prepare while hoping preparation would never be necessary. The galaxy's treatment of apparent weakness had triggered the revelation. But humanity still hoped for peaceful coexistence. The terms humanity offered were revolutionary. They wouldn't seek revenge or reparations. They wouldn't demand territory or resources. Instead, they proposed a new galactic order based on actual equality, where species were judged not by their military might, but by their contributions to collective knowledge and culture. They offered to share some of their technologies, to teach other species how to see the universe as humans had learned to see it, not as a battlefield, but as a laboratory where everyone could learn and grow. The Chromat ambassador, the one who had sensed something wrong from the beginning, was the first to speak. His scales shifted through colors that indicated deep thought before settling on a pattern of respect. He asked a simple question that cut to the heart of everyone's fears. What would humanity do if the assembly rejected their proposal? Chen's answer would be quoted in history books across the galaxy for millennia to come. She said that humanity would do what they had always done: survive, adapt, and wait for the galaxy to evolve enough to join them. Some species immediately accepted humanity's proposal, recognizing the wisdom in allying with such a powerful force. Others resisted, clinging to old power structures and hierarchies, but the momentum had shifted irreversibly. Younger species, those who had been oppressed by the established powers, saw humanity as liberators. Elder species, those wise enough to recognize genuine strength, understood that fighting humanity would be like fighting evolution itself. The revelation of humanity's true nature sparked a renaissance across the galaxy. Human scientists, no longer forced to hide their discoveries, shared insights that revolutionized everything from medicine to space travel. Human artists, freed from the need to appear primitive, created works that merged alien and human perspectives in ways that had never been imagined. Human philosophers, who had spent decades studying alien thought, offered new frameworks for understanding existence that transcended species boundaries. Captain Rivera, now promoted to Commodore, led the first joint human-alien exploration fleet to the galaxy's edge. His crew included members of dozen species, all working together under human coordination methods that emphasized individual strengths, while building collective capability. They discovered that the universe was far stranger and more wonderful than any single species could have imagined, and that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their hidden fleet or advanced technology, but their ability to see potential where others saw only threat. Admiral Thompson retired shortly after the Three Suns battle, her role in history secured. In her final speech to the human fleet, she reminded them that strength without wisdom was just destruction waiting to happen. Humanity had shown the galaxy their power, but their true victory would come from showing their character. The hidden armada would remain, upgraded and ready, but its greatest purpose would be ensuring it never had to be used again. The transformation of galactic society didn't happen overnight. There were conflicts, misunderstandings, and moments when the old ways threatened to reassert themselves, but humanity's patient guidance, backed by the silent presence of their vast fleet, kept progress moving forward. They had learned from their own history that change was painful but necessary, that evolution wasn't just biological but social and spiritual. Years later, when new species achieved spaceflight and sought to join the galactic community, they told the story of humanity's revelation. How a species that had been mocked and underestimated had revealed themselves as the most powerful force in known space, not through conquest, but through patience, preparation, and an understanding that true strength came from lifting others up rather than holding them down. The story became legend, then myth, but the truth remained in the vast human fleet that still patrolled the dark spaces between stars. Guardian angels that the galaxy had learned to respect and, eventually, to love. Ambassador Chen, now elderly, but still sharp, would often be asked by young diplomats from various species how humanity had maintained their deception for so long. She would smile, the same smile she had worn in the assembly hall when they had mocked her people, and tell them the simple truth. Humans had survived on a world that tried to kill them every day, had fought each other for resources and ideology, had nearly destroyed themselves multiple times. Pretending to be weak while growing strong wasn't deception to humans. It was just another Tuesday. The galaxy had underestimated humanity once. They would never make that mistake again. And in the end, that recognition, that respect, that understanding that humans were not to be trifled with but could be trusted as allies, became humanity's greatest victory. They had won not through conquest but through revelation, not through force but through restraint, not through fear but through earning genuine respect. The armada that had shocked the galaxy became its guardian, and humanity, the species that had hidden in plain sight for 70 years, became the teachers of a new age. In the vast expanse of space, human ships continued their patrols, their true numbers still known only to humanity's highest command. They watched, they waited, and they protected, ensuring that never again would the strong prey upon the weak, that never again would potential be crushed by prejudice. The galaxy had underestimated them, had pushed them to reveal their true nature, and in doing so, they had unleashed not conquerors but guardians, not destroyers but builders, not enemies but the strangest thing of all, humans being human, with all the terrifying and wonderful implications that carried across the stars. Asterisk.